Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Recently I was online and came across an interesting article written in 2017 on the RC Car Action website about the weirdest looking vehicles in RC. And as I scrolled down, what do you know? I see something really familiar. It's this custom buggy that I built way back, over 10 years ago, in 2010. This is a front-wheel driven, two-wheel drive buggy. Some call this an FF buggy for short. The history behind FF buggies is really intriguing. Apparently decades ago, when tracks didn't feature big, huge jumps and were very low grip, and where two-wheel drive buggies struggled for traction, front-wheel drive buggies offered a real advantage because the front wheels would pull the buggies forward and virtually eliminate the chances of spinouts that plagued the traditional rear-wheel drive buggy. It must have seemed like a real concern, at least back then, as racing organizations like IFMA ruled that FF buggies could not run in the two-wheel drive class, but had to compete in the four-wheel drive class instead, where obviously it would be disadvantaged. So the buggies slowly faded away. FF buggies were so rare, so unusual and unique that back in 2010 I decided I just had to build one to see how they drove. So, this is my creation. Forgive the dirt, as it has just recently been out on the local astroturf track after almost a decade in storage. You can see the car features a gearbox from a Kyosho two-wheel drive buggy, front arms from a Tamiya four-wheel drive, and some other odds and ends from various cars for the steering and rear hubs. But most of the car is custom built from CNC carbon fiber and Delrin parts. Back in 2010, we only had dirt tracks where I lived, so the car was tested exclusively on dirt. It ran very well, and all the drivers who tested it gave positive reviews and really enjoyed this somewhat odd creation. The car shines on cornering, especially in low grip conditions, and requires a driving style that employs a lot of throttle throughout the track. Essentially, throttle almost always straightens the car out, so it is easy to drive in that way. Where FF cars like this suffer is in forward acceleration and drive. Because the weight is all up front, there will be more wheel spin as the tires try to hook up and accelerate the car. So overall, you can say that this is a buggy that works best if you carry speed around corners, and it works and excels on low grip tracks. 10 years later today, and dirt tracks are all but gone from the local scene, and we run our two-wheel drive buggies on higher grip astroturf tracks now. However, it is the year-end season where we experience quite a lot of rain, and although the track I frequent is under shelter, heavy rain coats the turf and makes it near impossible to drive modern mid-motor two-wheel drive buggies. So when I chanced on the RCCA article, I started to wonder if the FF buggy would work on the slippery, near undrivable wet astroturf track. So I took the car out of storage, wired up some electronics, did some custom work to fit a shorty lipo, because the original car was designed for saddle packs. Remember those? I know, so 2010, right? And after all that, it was off to the track. Initially, the car was fitted with two-wheel drive, narrow front tires back in the rear. And while the car was okay on most of the track, I found it would steer too aggressively on the tight hairpins, so it was very hard to get the car pointed where it needed to go on exit. So in the follow-up runs, I decided to try some different tires and settled on regular width rear tires. These are a set of worn mini pins, but they seem to work. I asked a friend I just met to take a video of a few laps, so here goes. Not my best driving, but the car gets round the track very admirably. Just take note that it had been raining for more than 12 hours before this run was done, and the track is actually very slippery. I tried my regular mid-motor buggy and it was very much harder to drive and even harder to drive consistently. As you can see, the car actually jumps quite well. Well, far better than I expected, and it handles the slippery sweeper and straight sections without any fuss. If you really pay attention, you can observe some wheel spin on hard acceleration, but even though there is wheel spin, the car doesn't spin out or lose composure. The car is a little less forgiving when it lands a jump, especially with too much nose dive, because the motor is way up front. The light rear end also means that if the rear wheels happen to just clip the lip of a receiver on landing, there's a good chance the car is going to flip its rear end over its front. That said, the car handles very well and is a blast to drive, and we'll definitely see more runtime if this rainy season keeps up. This is one of the most interesting things I actually have in my RC car collection, and I'm happy to share it with you in this video. I hope you have enjoyed this weird creation. So till next time, bye bye.